What's up, Football Daily? For today's 11, we're bringing you Jurgen Klopp's first ever Liverpool team. It's been over 5 years now since he took over at Anfield, with the Reds winning the Champions League and the Premier League title while he's been in the dugout. Let's see how much his team has changed. Goalkeeper, Simon Mignolet. Starting in goal for that 0-0 draw against Tottenham Hotspur back in October 2015 was Simon Mignolet. Despite Klopp never truly being convinced by the Belgian's abilities, initially attempting to replace him with Loris Karius in 2016, Mignolet would in fact go on to make a century of appearances for his German boss. He would just about hold on to his spot as first choice over the next 2 years, starting in 60% of the Reds' Premier League matches and keeping 16 clean sheets. But of course his position was always under threat, and when the signing of Alisson Becker was completed in 2018, the 32-year-old lost his place in the squad. 2018-19 saw him restricted to just 2 cup games all season, before Liverpool finally parted ways with the player they signed in 2013, selling Mignolet to Club Bruges for £6.3 million. All in all, Mignolet kept 35 clean sheets in 100 matches for Klopp, a level of consistency the former Dortmund coach would probably love from a backup goalkeeper right now. Defender, Nathaniel Klein. Among Brendan Rodgers' last signings for Liverpool was Nathaniel Klein, signed in the summer of 2015 from Southampton for £12.5 million. The Englishman was first choice right back for the first 2 years under Klopp, being consistent if not outstanding in the position, with just 7 goal involvements up until the end of the 16-17 campaign. And in July 2017 he suffered a back injury, leaving Klopp with a predicament at right back. The solution initially was to rotate Joe Gomez and an untested 17-year-old by the name of Trent Alexander-Arnold. And we know what happened after that. Trent was far better than anticipated and has now made a name for himself as one of the world's best right-backs. So, as you'd expect, game time dried up for Clyne. He'd make just 10 appearances between 2017 and 2020 after making 83 in the 2 years prior. Released at the end of the 2019-20 campaign, the 29-year-old is now back at Crystal Palace, the club he first joined as an 8-year-old and made his pro debut with. Defender, Martin Skirtle. In some ways, Martin Skirtle was the first victim of Klopp's Anfield regime, although neither player nor manager can really be blamed for the Slovakian's exit from Merseyside. He started each of Klopp's first 9 fixtures in charge before suffering a muscle injury in a 3-0 defeat to Watford, which ruled him out for the best part of 3 months. Upon his return to fitness the following March, Skirtle would make just 4 more starts for the club he joined back in 2008, and the then 32-year-old was ultimately deemed past his best that summer, with Liverpool choosing to cash in. Fenerbahce swooped to the tune of £5 million, as Skirtle headed to Istanbul, having made 320 appearances for the club. Now at Istanbul Başakşehir, Skirtle can add the Turkish Super League to his list of honours. Defender, Mamadou Sakho. Starting alongside Skirtle was Mamadou Sakho, who also fell out with Klopp very quickly. The Frenchman, signed from PSG in 2013, started the first handful of games before an injury kept him out for a month. Straight back in the lineup though, it looked like he was set to be an important part of Liverpool's future at the age of 25. Sakho was handed a ban from football for 30 days after violating an anti-doping rule, although he was cleared after the ban. Then the following season, he really fell into Klopp's bad books. After appearing late for Liverpool's flight to America for a pre-season tour, missing a medical session and not being on time for a team meal, Sakho was demoted to the reserves for 2016-17. Never playing for Liverpool again, he was shipped out on loan to Crystal Palace in the January window before the South Londoners made the move permanent for £24 million in the summer of 2017. Defender, Alberto Moreno. The final member of Jurgen Klopp's back four is left-back Alberto Moreno. Very much first choice in the German's debut season on Merseyside, the Spaniard was very similar to Clyne on the opposition flank. Capable but not remarkable, Moreno still put up an impressive 5 tackles and interceptions per 90 in the 15-16 campaign, but it wouldn't be enough. Despite remaining a Liverpool player until 2019, he would average just 10 league appearances per campaign until his departure, with Klopp preferring James Milner at left-back in the 2016-17 campaign, before Andy Robertson was brought in as a permanent replacement. But it wasn't like Moreno was left to rot on the bench, at least not until his last season. He made 8 appearances as Liverpool made the Champions League final in 2018, a year after the Reds turned down a £12 million bid from Napoli. And despite playing just 4 games in 2018-19, the 28-year-old was linked with a shock move to Barcelona when his contract expired, but instead ended up at Villarreal. Midfielder, James Milner. And now we move on to Jurgen Klopp's Mr. Reliable. James Milner wore the captain's armband that day, and to since gone on to make 216 appearances out of the German's 279 games. For context, only Roberto Firmino has featured in more matches for Klopp. And of course, one of the main reasons for this has been Milner's versatility. Only half of those 216 games have come in his preferred position of central midfield, with almost 50 of them coming at left back, a position he played the entirety of the 2016-17 campaign at. As well as that, the 34-year-old has also played a number of games at both left and right midfield, as well as a handful at right back too, proving just how valuable he is to Klopp on the pitch. Still a regular in a Premier League and Champions League winning squad, Milner is also noted for his influence off the pitch. Contributing to a goal every 225 minutes, the Englishman also has the unique record of never losing a league game in which he has scored, a good omen that Klopp will no doubt hope never ends. Midfielder, Lucas Leiva. Arguably one of Liverpool's most underrated players this century, Lucas Leiva was already 8 years and 281 games deep into his Anfield career when Klopp arrived, building a reputation for being an extremely efficient, if not particularly dynamic midfielder. Very much a regular in Klopp's first campaign, he averaged 6 tackles and interceptions a game. Only N'Golo Kanté and Idrissa Gueye put up better numbers that season. Even used as an emergency centre-back at times, the 33-year-old started in defence in the 2016 League Cup final, Klopp's first final with the club. It wasn't one to remember though, as the Brazilian was amongst 3 players to miss a penalty in the shootout. Lucas would find his game time reduced following the arrival of Gini Wijnaldum that summer, making just 12 Premier League starts and seeing his defensive numbers almost halve. His time at Liverpool had come to an end, but not before he had a dinner in his honour for a decade of service to the club in 2017. Lucas moved on to Lazio that window for £5 million, and he remains a key player in Rome. Midfielder, Emre Can. The final man in central midfield for Klopp's debut was Emre Can, who at the time was still only 21 years old. Signed from Bayer Leverkusen in 2014, the German international was immediately a regular starter under Brendan Rodgers, albeit in the slightly unfamiliar position of centre-back and full-back. Remaining a regular when Klopp arrived, he was shifted back to his preferred central midfield role, going on to play 116 games in almost 3 years with his compatriot in charge. And perhaps the highlight of Chan's Liverpool career came with his overhead kick which he scored against Watford, bagging him the 2017-18 Goal of the Season award. But despite having a strong relationship with Klopp, Chan struggled with his training methods and ultimately rejected a new contract with the club in order to move to Juventus on a free in 2018, even though Klopp wanted him to remain at Anfield. Chan never settled in Italy, finding the training even tougher in Turin, and at 26 is now back in Germany with Borussia Dortmund. Forward, Adam Lallana. For Jurgen Klopp's first 2 seasons in charge of Liverpool, Adam Lallana was amongst the most integral members of the squad, making 92 appearances as his capability to play anywhere across the attacking line was taken advantage of. More often than not though, he was deployed as an attacking midfielder, scoring 13 and setting up a further 14 up to the summer of 2017. But a combination of new signings and injury troubles saw his time on the field drastically decrease, with the Englishman making just 9 more league starts before his 2020 departure, contributing just 2 more goals across 3 years. He remained a popular player in the dressing room but was let go after collecting that Premier League winners' medal, moving on to Brighton. Forward, Divock Origi. Alongside James Milner as one of only 2 players in Klopp's first squad to still be at the club, it's fair to say that Divock Origi has become something of a Liverpool hero, despite not developing into the player that he was once expected to be. In the 5 years under Klopp, the Belgian has played 139 games, despite spending a year on loan at Wolfsburg in the process. But the majority of these have been sub-appearances, with his 82 comfortably the most in the Klopp era. But some of these cameos are amongst the most iconic moments in the club's recent history, including that goal against Barcelona, the clincher in the subsequent Champions League final against Spurs, and a last-minute winner against Everton in 2018. Klopp still sees enough in the 25-year-old to keep him around as a backup if nothing else. Origi actually made the most appearances for Liverpool in the 2016-17 campaign with 43, although unsurprisingly he started less than half of those. And with the front line of Roberto Firmino, Sadio Mane and Mo Salah, plus the arrival of Diogo Jota, he'll almost definitely continue to come off the bench while he remains at the club. Forward, Felipe Coutinho. The last name on Jurgen Klopp's first team sheet is Felipe Coutinho, undoubtedly the standout name from this squad, and in some ways responsible for the success Liverpool have had in recent years. Initially joining the Reds in January 2013, the Brazilian had been a consistent starter, but really hit his stride when Raheem Sterling left Merseyside and Klopp came in as manager. In 15-16, Coutinho made 10 goal contributions in 19 league games, before increasing that to 20 in 31 in 16-17, and an incredible 20 in 19 Champions League and Premier League matches in the first half of 17-18. In total, Coutinho played for Klopp 89 times, averaging a goal contribution every 110 minutes. This of course caught the attention of Barcelona, who paid an incredible £105 million up front for the former Inter man. And what did Liverpool do with that money? Well, Virgil van Dijk had just signed for £70 million, while the next summer saw the arrival of goalkeeper Alisson for £67 million, as well as Fabinho joining for close to £40 million. The final pieces of the Jurgen Klopp revolution, which of course culminated in a league title. Meanwhile, Coutinho continues to fight for his place at Barcelona after a year on loan at Bayern Munich. So that was our look at Jurgen Klopp's first Liverpool XI, but what did you make of it? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave it a like and of course subscribe to Football Daily if you haven't done so already. Thanks for watching and we'll see you next time.